Hey everyone, and welcome to the CEO's Playbook, business secrets from our millionaire dad. We've got Randall Davidson and his two daughters, Bree and Sierra. They started this podcast to share the kind of stuff you'll never learn in school. Real stories, wins, failures, and the lessons our dad picked up over 30 plus years of running business. And just a heads up, everything we talk about is from our own experiences and opinions, so always do your homework and check with a professional before making any big moves. All right, let's get into it.
Hey guys, excited to be here, and I think that today's conversation, I'm hoping, will be a little bit of a learning for all of us. And the main reason I want to bring it up is because I heard this stat the other day, and you wrote it down. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, you were talking to us about how 80% of all businesses within the first year fail.
Right.
And then the following year, I didn't get that number. What was it?
10% of the following year, new businesses fail within the first 3 years, meaning a total of 90% of businesses fail in the first 3 years. And I wanted to cover that because we have to listen to our failures. The thing that really stuck with me the most when I was hearing those stats is that 90% of businesses fail in the first 3 years. 90% of second-time founders succeed. So where they failed before, they learn and they succeed. So if you can get hold of a good founder who failed the first time through, he's going to be very valuable because the chances of him failing a second time are slim. So it's quite an interesting twist.
It is interesting because obviously the biggest thing that people get stuck on before even wanting to try is the fear of failure.
That's right.
But it's interesting to hear that a lot of times that isn't actually what stops people. It's what propels people to do something again or something new, even though that was the biggest fear in the first place.
We've talked about how I've had plenty of failures and I've had lots of successes. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that we've learned about when we failed. What did we learn from that failure? So we need to listen to our failures. So I'm hoping to kind of open that up, guys. Before I begin, why don't you guys share with us what you consider one of your failures are and then what you learned from the failure, and let's talk about it.
I guess I could go first. I mean, I'm still young. I'm 28 years old, so I haven't really had these big failures that I'm going to hear today. But
the big failures.
But I will say going to college was definitely a big failure for me. I had a plan to be a teacher and did about 1.5 years of schooling. And the last semester I failed one of my classes, and I remember putting that so heavily on myself of I am not built for school. I am not made to do school because I can't even pass a class, even though the year following I was doing okay. But that was a big failure for me, and that did make me turn away from college. It made me turn away from even wanting to do teaching. And the good thing that I can recognize is I may not be teaching, but I did do coaching, which was a huge step for me of recognizing that I do enjoy helping younger adults learn how to find themselves when they are teenagers and give them support in a sense. So it's really cool.
So you're considering that as a failure. Tell us, what was your takeaway from that? I mean, what you're saying is, I failed this, and then I felt like I wasn't cut out for it anymore. But then later I found out that I enjoy the coaching side for volleyball, and I enjoy helping kids, which is really the ultimate vision from the get-go, was helping children. That's what you're saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say is the things you learned from the schooling, even though you feel like that you may have quit a little bit early?
Good question.
Because you did you still have ended up having the same vision.
Yeah. I think having that not define who I am as a person. I went on to be in manager roles throughout my years of career, and recognizing that I do enjoy being a leader, and that things like that don't define me as a person. Like failing at a class or not going to college, it doesn't define me as a person when it comes to even like career-based mentalities. Like I can still strive to be someone who can help others.
Sweet. So you're saying that what you've learned is that your identity is not school, and you're still following that vision through.
Yeah.
And so no matter how you got there, maybe the road forked one way or the other, but you're still getting to what you really wanted to, which is that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
All
that's
right.
great.
Sierra, what do you think?
Okay. So I'm going to start with I went to hair school.
Yeah.
I went to hair school and I thought that was it. I had friends who went right after high school. And I remember saying, I am not going to go to hair school if I'm not going to do hair. Why would I waste my time and why would I waste my money?
Okay.
Love those comments of just naivety. So went to hair school, realized probably halfway through that I didn't enjoy doing it.
How old were you?
I was 23 and I tried everything to not go. I tried to get out of appointments. It was not fun for me. And it's because of my confidence. I did not feel confident. I felt insecure the whole time. I was questioning every single decision within the hair process the whole time. And I found, number one, I finished because
Okay.
I knew that if I didn't finish, I wouldn't get my money back and it would be a waste of money and time.
Okay.
So one thing was that I definitely learned that I can finish what I start, even if I don't have the passion there. The other thing that I always joke about is that I found one of my best friends there. And so we always say that I spent $20,000 on a friend.
Your friend.
Yeah. And it was worth it. And she's one of my best friends. And one time I was talking to my brother, Drew, and I was having a hard time about it because I didn't want to do hair and I'd just graduated. I'd said, I feel like such a failure. And he said, you didn't fail at it. You're just choosing not to do it.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah.
what it sounds like.
Yeah.
So you call it a failure just because of the fact that you didn't want to continue on after that.
Yeah.
But in reality, it probably was a little bit more of a success. And what you're giving us is, of course, your best friend.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you've also learned, number one, what you didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
And you also learned how to complete what you started because you were determined to complete it, even though you've learned earlier on that it wasn't your passion.
Mm-hmm.
But you still went ahead and completed it and got what you needed to get from that. What would you now do differently? If you had to do it again, what did you learn from it so that you would not do it a second time? What would that be? Or what you would do a second time?
Well, I did do a second time. I did real estate school. And I did the same thing. I did school. I learned, one, I like that I can choose for myself. If I don't have a passion or if I don't have something in it that I'm loving, I can choose not to do it. And
That's right.
Just because I made one decision doesn't mean that will be my forever decision. But also, it shows me that confidence is huge for me. And if I don't feel confident, which also relates to knowledge, if I don't educate myself enough on something, I don't feel confident on it. Therefore, I don't like it.
So are you saying confidence and your liking or your interest in it are combined?
Yes. I think that it's hard for me to not internalize things. If I'm not good at something, that to me feels like I'm not good. Like that relates back to, the deep stuff, but
The fear of failure.
yeah, the fear of failure, the fear of letting people down if I don't do what I think is a good enough job on something.
I can understand. I can definitely relate to that fear of failure. I relate to it in many, many, many ways. On the other hand, I think the thing that I like about what both of you guys said was that it was really, in both cases, it was really a decision. Mm-hmm. It's not like it just happened to you and you failed per se. It sounds like more than that your interests and your desires changed.
Yeah.
And so you learned what you didn't like about it, and there's nothing wrong with failing. I think where I'm coming from, as long as everything lines up and everything looks good, I'm always going to be safe, but I'm going to definitely not be afraid to fail. Hey, we're looking at this right here. We're doing this without the fear of failure.
Yeah.
Because we don't care.
That's actually so wild to realize that it is just a decision.
It's just a decision.
You can continue to do things and it being a success in your mind because you're continuing it. Even in my personal life, going through a divorce, and a lot of people view that as a failure. But again, when I go down to it, it was a decision. Do I move forward and continue in this path that doesn't feel good? Or do I make a decision and change something in my life?
My next follow-up question for each of you, and start with Bree, is going to be, if you had to do it again, what choices would you make differently, and what choices would you keep the same?
I think for me, I don't think I would change anything physically. Like, I'm actually really happy and proud of how I have come to this point.
There you go.
I think the thing I would hope to change is my mindset, where mentally I just would struggle so much about who I am as a person because of these things. I created this persona of, oh, I failed one class, so I'm going to fail all classes. So I'm never going to go to college. I'm never going to succeed. I'm never going to be able to get the job that I hoped that I could get. When in reality, like you guys have been saying, values change. Things are different. It's okay to change what you want to do. And I'm happy that I was able to do the things I did versus being fully locked into teaching. That would have been such a changing factor for me. I still would have learned, but I am still happy that I was able to do multiple different things that weren't just teaching.
I think my big thing too, mindset, is that I just wish I would have enjoyed it more, to be very honest. Like, I wish I would have just not been so worried about being perfect or being good at it and just enjoyed it. And even the fact that mine's tied to a friendship, we talk about it all the time. We're like, oh, how fun was it that we got to hang out every day? And that's so fun. We have so many memories with it. But while we were there, we were like, we hate this. We wish we weren't here. This sucks. But I think it really is just taking the pressure off of outcomes and just enjoying what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled. I mean, what you guys are talking about is really right down the direction I wanted to take it. Now let's talk about it as if it was in business. We talked about your personal, and we talked about your education. We both talked about that. Quite frankly, my intent when I got ready to go into my college, I was going to be a dentist. How different would our life be if I had been a dentist?
Dang, dude, I'd have great teeth right now. Come on.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
So think about that. The fact is that life is a journey, and as we are making these decisions, each decision just is part of what life is about, and we don't need to be afraid of it. So with this information that we've talked about, I want to now talk about failures, big failure businesses. And when we talk about the fact that basically 90% of all businesses fail in the first 3 years. However, the big kicker here, the thing that stuck out the most in my mind, is the fact that second-time founders have a 90% chance of success. I mean, I've seen how the business that we're currently in, people gravitate towards what we do. They want to be a part of what we have. And there's nobody that's ever worked for us that doesn't want to come back. People gravitate towards us, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I've been doing business for a long time.
I think going back to that stat real quick, what a cool thing to put in the back of your mind that maybe it really is just as important just to try, because you don't know where that step is going to lead you, and that no matter what, you're going to learn something.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that in my case, Pacific Swing, we had some amazing successes in that. We got to the point where all the rooms were full. We got to the point where we had got enough traction that people were recommending us. We were online. We had figured out some of the marketing. It took a long time. And because it took so long, we were in a cash burn situation for too long. With that said, what did I learn? Oh my gosh, I learned how to market. I learned how to be in the entertainment business. I learned how to deal with agents because all the singers had agents. I had to learn how to deal with the musicians union and negotiations, and all those different techniques took me to the next phase when I went into my next phase of business, and I could use all those different skills so that I didn't fail. And the business right after that was True Heroes. And True Heroes has gone from being a fairly small thing to growing to the point where we're doing tons and tons of business, and we have a functioning company that's been around now for 12 years, 13 years.
Yeah, something like that.
And so it is a matter of recognizing that failures are they're not condemnations. They're not the end. And a failure does not mean that you're not going to have success in the future. We've gone way beyond our dreams where we are now than we thought we were going to be because of all the challenges we'd had to get to that point.
Failure kind of feels a little bit like trusting yourself and being brave enough to make a hard decision.
And you know what else? How many times have you guys watched the Jimmy Fallon show and he's talking to an actor who says, when I was 12 years old, this guy told me I was not a good actor. Mm-hmm. Or I was trying to get this job at a commercial and the guy told me, you should find something else to do. And the fact is that it matters what we say, and it matters what our vision is, and it matters how we move forward. It doesn't matter what someone else says. And when somebody says something like that to me, it's usually, for me, it's motivation. It's, oh, well, I'll show you. Mm-hmm. I'll show you.
Which I feel like that comes through confidence too, like recognizing where you're at on your own end. Because I could even think of myself 5 years ago where I was telling myself that I'm too shy, I'm too anxious, I'm like putting all of these mental health aspects into who I am as a person, when in reality it's like that's not the case at all. I'm sitting in this chair today, being able to sit in front of a camera, in front of my dad and sister and brother, being able to talk about my experiences and listening to your experiences as well. It really is that change of I can have confidence in myself that I can do these things.
Well, self-doubt is its own challenge because everybody has self-doubt. Getting external doubt at us is also something that we got to make sure that we recognize. These things are not part of business, and people will always doubt you.
Yeah, just shows that they have so much self-doubt as well.
That's right.
Well, it's you really realize that everything that someone says to you that is in that manner is just a self-reflection of what they think about them. Or like, oh, I couldn't do this, so that's why you can't do it.
Limiting beliefs. We've heard that. Everybody's heard that.
Jace needs a mic.
Jace needs a mic. I think what I want today's takeaway really just to be is the fact that we need to listen to what our failures were. And even failure is probably the wrong word, because the fact is every one of these are steps towards the future. You guys have a very bright future in front of all of you guys. And no matter where you go from here, there's so much potential in every way and in everything we do. And sometimes you just got to follow that trail.
I really like to think about it as kind of more of a decision. Like, I really like that. That feels better to me to know I'm in control of making this big decision rather than I failed at this. Like, no, I decided something different and chose a different path or whatever.
Number one, take what you consider to be a step back. I don't want to even use the word failure, but let's step back from where you were going or what you were doing as an asset. Use it as a builder for the future. And I know I've already said this story in the podcast, but have I talked about this where there's two brothers and their father, and they're being interviewed by a reporter from the Wall Street Journal, I believe. Does this ring a bell?
I don't think you told it on the podcast. I actually just think you were talking to me.
It's rung true to me ever since I heard it for the first time, and it's been years and years. The reporter was interviewing two brothers. One brother was living on the street. He was a drug addict. He was an alcoholic. Just no direction. The second brother, he is very successful. He owns his own company. He is wealthy from the standpoint of he's got family. He's got all the things that he would need. The father was an addict. He was an alcoholic. And so the reporter interviewed both of them, and he asked them, given your situation, why do you feel like you are where you are today? And first he talks to the homeless guy, and the homeless guy just says, well, crap, look at my dad. That's all he had to say. Sorry, this is a big deal for me. So he goes to the successful brother, and he says, tell me, why are you where you are today? And he says, look at my dad. Same answer. So it really matters how you take in the information and how you process it. You can process it as a good thing. You can process it as a victim. It's your choice, and that decision is in your hands. So to me, and someday I'm sure we'll talk about my family and some of the things in my life that have been pluses and minuses. But in every case, it all comes down to choices that I chose. Mm-hmm. And that's what matters the most.
Yeah, that sounds good.
No, I really like that. Thanks for sharing that. And I do agree with that, where it is the mindset shift. And I like how you brought up the Pacific Swing, where you can either see it as a failure and never do business again and put that as who you are as a person, as someone who failed, and that's just who you are, or have the mindset of, I may not have been able to successfully do what I wanted to do with this business, but look at everything I learned so I can be able to use that for my next decision, my next vision, really deciding what you want to see for yourself at the end of it.
I got to tell you, we started from the beginning. We'll continue all the way through. People follow vision.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And second-time founders, they realize that. They realize people will still follow that vision.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so homework. Always homework from class.
What's our homework?
Look at those things in your life that are those pain points that you feel like maybe are failures.
Yeah.
And to kind of like what we did is, what did you learn from it? What decision did you make? Now where are you at on life, and
what would you change?
What would you change?
And how are you going to make it better?
Yeah. Love that.
Okay.
Booyah.
Let's take it a wrap.
All right.
Okay, thanks for listening to this chapter of our podcast. Do your homework, kids. Bye.